Well, I picked a really bad week to take off, didn't I? Yeah, I know that this is a little bit late. I'm a little bit behind the curve as free agency was over a week ago. But obviously, I had that little foray about the whole Max Pacioretty trade that really rubbed me the wrong way. And then I just got focused on other things. But I'm back, which is the important thing. Um, and now I guess now that we've given ample time for signings to trickle down, because this, despite the Johnny Gaudreau trade and the upcoming controversy around Matthew Tkachuk, there hasn't really been a lot of noteworthy storylines that happened on free agency day. And signings are still trickling in. Like as of 3 or 4 hours before filming this, Nino Niederreiter just signed in Nashville. So clearly, a couple of things are left to fall, and obviously, we still don't know who Nazem Kadri is going to play for come October. But that's for other people on the internet to speculate about. I'm simply here to talk about the Vegas Golden Knights and not their most heated Western Conference rival in the Colorado Avalanche and how they're going to avoid a literal cap hell that they are standing right on the precipice of. But let's take a quick look back at the Golden Knights Wednesday, July 13th, free agency day, and just see what happened. So obviously we knew the salary cap was going to be a bit of an issue, but nobody beyond that, nobody really knew what was going to happen. The day was all in all really, really quiet. Not a lot of signings, a couple of small signings. A guy named Byron Frost and Sheldon Rempel both signed to 2-year, $762,000 contracts. Those were all done rather early in the day by about 2 o'clock. And at that point, I was sitting there thinking, that's probably all we're going to do today. Like a lot of our guys who need to be re-signed, we can't really do anything with them because a lot of them are RFAs, and if they were done, they'd have been done by now. And if they weren't going to be done, they're not going to be done until closer to camp. So I really didn't think much of it. Turned my phone off for about 5 minutes just to have it go back, just to have the internet go nuts because of Max Pacioretty and Dylan Coghlan getting traded to the Carolina Hurricanes for nothing. But if you're here, you've probably seen my video on that one already from last week, and you already know my feelings on that trade, so I'm not going to beat the dead horse. I'm not going to talk about it anymore. Move on to what the Golden Knights actually did. Once the Max Pacioretty trade was done and the cap space was freed up, we were finally able to start signing people. And it started with a quick little flurry of players we know and love, that being Jonas Rondbjerg and Brett Howden, both re-upping. Rondbjerg for 3 years at $1 million and Howden for 1 year at $1.5 million. Now, of those two deals, they both are pretty good. Jonas Rondbjerg provides a lot of good forward depth. We saw what he could do on the fourth line last year with 30 games played, 2 goals, 4 assists for 6 points. That's respectable bottom six, especially respectable fourth line numbers, especially given that it was essentially his de facto rookie season. And the line volatility, him playing a lot with Jake Leschyshyn and Paul Cotter, who were both in and out of the lineup for being called up, down, and all that, is a factor as to why his points production wasn't great with the Golden Knights. But if you look at his Silver Knight statistics, it's very obvious why we re-signed him, and especially for 3 years at this deal, because he's going to be spending a fair chunk of time in the American Hockey League as well. But he's one of those players who has NHL experience, and it's good to hold on to guys who have that because, especially in the Golden Knights organization right now, it's the haves and the have-nots. Your day-to-day NHLers have all the experience, and once you get into the American Hockey League, the guy with the most game played is Jonas Rondbjerg. So it's good that we re-upped with him. Now, the other one I mentioned earlier with Brett Howden with the 1 year, $1.5 million deal, I think this is more of a prove-it deal because according to the metrics, Brett Howden was one of our best players. Even though he only scored 9 goals and 11 points, or 9 goals and 11 assists for 20 points in 40 games played, he was a difference maker on that fourth line, and he was really kind of, in my opinion, living up to his draft pedigree. I think that this deal is the Golden Knights saying, yeah, we understand that you basically got your head taken off by, was it Philip Forsberg or something against the Predators when you had to get stretchered off the ice. We get it. You had an injury-riddled season. We're not really going to hold that against you. Here's another year. You get to make $1.5 million to show us that you can do it again. And essentially, this is a glorified PTO, but he gets to be on the team for 82 games plus some playoffs, hopefully. And so those were the two contracts that jumped off the page quickly to me. Another contract that I questioned at first, but as we've gotten further and further away from free agent day, I've started to understand the necessity of it, which was our signing of Michael Hutchinson for 1 year at $750,000. Now, I look at his stat line and I'm genuinely scared. Any of you guys have watched any videos from Steve Dangle 2 years ago, 2 years ago, when Hutchinson was their day-to-day goalie, you'll know exactly where my concern is coming from. But that concern is muted by the fact that we have one Logan Thompson in the organization. But I can hear you from the back saying, but Ian, Logan Thompson's going to be the backup. Yeah, that's what I thought too. Until it's been widely reported, especially after the Hutchinson signing, that both Laurent Brossoit and Robin Lehner may not be ready for the first couple of weeks of the regular season. So it's kind of imperative that we get a backup to our backup, especially because there's still rumors of us trading Laurent Brossoit and moving on and promoting Thompson to being the full-time backup. We can't trade injured players. It goes against the rules. So we're going to be holding on to Laurent Brossoit's contract for the foreseeable future, which means we're going to need to keep a capable backup goalie just in case. Now, Michael Hutchinson didn't really put up incredible numbers last year. 2 games played, 3.23 goals against average, and a .889 save percentage. But I don't really remember him for last year. To be honest, I didn't even know he played in the NHL last year. I thought he was an AHL player the whole season. What I remember him for is his performance with the Colorado Avalanche in the bubble a couple years ago up in Edmonton. He basically single-handedly carried the Avalanche to Game 7 against the Dallas Stars in the second round. So he's clearly got a couple ounces of goalieing left in him. And as a Golden Knights fan, I hope he does well, but I also hope we don't need him, and I hope that Panda is able to get better and that Brossoit, the organization, makes a decision whether or not we're going to keep him, whether or not we're going to move on from him, and whether or not Logan Thompson's going to start the year in the NHL as an NHL backup or as an AHL number one. A lot of that is yet to be discovered. So it was about this point when the Pacioretty trade went through, and again, miffed about it, but that was a week ago. As we've gone a week by, I get it. And clearly what that move was done was to free up salary cap so we could re-sign Riley Smith. Now, Riley Smith is one of my personal favorite players on this team, and I am beyond happy that he's back. The contract being 3 years at $5 million a year. That's basically a carbon copy of his old deal, so I don't really have much to say. A lot of people I've talked to on the issue who are a lot more knowledgeable about relative value of players on the market believe that he probably should be making somewhere closer to 4. But I think Riley Smith is one of those players that is an identity player, especially with Bill Foley taking more of an interest in the identity of his precious Vegas Golden Knights, and Bruce Cassidy being an identity guy in his own right, in his coaching style. It would have been stupid not to bring back Riley Smith. And especially with the productivity he puts up in 56 games last year, 16 goals, 22 assists. An off year by his standards, but still not the worst year on the team. And there's nowhere else to go but up. He was shuffling through line mates just as fast as Jack Eichel was when he got back into the lineup in February. So it's not a surprise that his numbers slightly tapered off. He was being forced to shuffle around playing with... At one point, he played on a line with Howden and Dadonov or something. So that tells you how far we dipped into our depth chart last year. I think he, even at one point, was out as a winger for Paul Cotter. It was a time. So that signing makes a lot of sense to me, and I'm really excited to have him back. And if the misfit line gets broken up, as I've seen reported, great. If it doesn't, great. The fact that we're taking a vested interest in retaining our original players, especially an original player like Riley Smith, who is such a community icon, obviously as captain of the Battle for Vegas softball team for the Golden Knights, who finally won, thank goodness. It only took him 3 tries. It's good to get that kind of guy back, and he's a good player all around. So obviously, I think it's a really good signing from the organizational standpoint. Obviously, signing these players and making the organizational moves that the Golden Knights made leads to some players being left out of the fold and ultimately going somewhere else. There weren't a lot of players like that this time around, but there were still a couple. Ones that spring to mind are especially American League prospects like Jack Dugan, who was very good, but he just never panned out in Henderson, and he was kind of buried in the depth chart anyway. So it appears as if there was a mutual agreement between the Golden Knights and Jack Dugan to up and go somewhere else, and he was re-signed to a contract in New Jersey. Ben Jones, same thing, really good player, but buried in the depth chart. He's underneath Brisson, Morozov, and Dorofeev in the American Hockey League in terms of forward depth. So he, same thing as Jack Dugan, is up and signed with the Calgary Flames. Now, the one we knew when we re-signed Riley Smith that something else was going to drop, a day-to-day NHL player was going to move, and that happened with Mattias Janmark signing in Edmonton. Now, I really don't like that two of those three are in division, but only one of those, being Mattias Janmark, is a day-to-day player, and he's a third-line, fourth-line player in Edmonton at best, so obviously we hope that he does well because, we don't like to boo our old players, and he did have a hat trick in Game 7 2 years ago, so we'll always remember him for that. But I think this is a good opportunity for Janmark to spread his wings a bit, play on a team that is just absolutely flushed with talent, and continue to make a name for himself, whether it be how he played in Dallas, how he played with us, or how he's going to play in Edmonton. Hopefully he plays well, but not too well, because the Knights curse is getting a little old for me. With that being said, there's still a lot of things that have to happen between now and when camp starts. There are a couple of players that spring to mind, the couple of RFAs that are left. We know there's been somewhat of an answer on the Keegan Colasar situation, as a couple of days ago he filed for arbitration. So it looks like he's going to be back next year, but we're not entirely sure what the going rate's going to be for everybody's favorite fourth-line player. I mean, I love Keegan Colasar. He's got a lot of upside. He's a physical player. He's basically trying to be the new Ryan Reeves, but with a little bit more goal-scoring touch. I hope that he's able to find the back of the net a little bit more, because I always like it when he scores. He's a fun guy to watch, and I always found myself rooting for him last year, even though I half-heartedly knew he was never going to score. But the two big RFAs that still have to drop are the Knicks, Nick Hague and Nicholas Waugh. They're both probably going to be back, but we always have to be wary of the offer sheet. Now, I know that word's been thrown around a lot, and I know us and the Golden Knights fan base are a little concerned about it, but the offer sheet's only been used twice in the last 10 years, and it's both because of Sebastian Aho, who was a bit of a pain, and Montreal tried to steal him, and then Carolina stole a player from Montreal via offer sheet as retaliation. So I don't think either of those players are in relative threat of being offer sheeted, but you never know. It's been a strange offseason so far. A lot of these contracts that are currently out right now are there's obviously a lot of deliberation that has to happen, and we are still a couple of months away from it mattering. But I'd definitely be paying close attention and pay attention to the rumors, whether it be about Hague or Waugh being offer sheeted, because it's a possibility. It's a low percentage chance, but it's still a chance. So it seems like the Golden Knights are done and dusted for the summer. A lot of players are going on vacation after coming back for the softball game. And obviously, going to get themselves in shape for camp. The rookie camp was exceptional. Our prospect pool looks really good, and I was thinking about doing another video, but I didn't pay enough attention to rookie camp, and I'm not going to base an entire video off of a Sin Bin Vegas article I skimmed in 5 minutes. But all I know from watching the rookie camps is that Caden Korczak is looking really good. He might bust into the NHL. He's going to be challenging Miramanov for defenseman 7 on the depth chart. Ivan Morozov and Brendan Brisson are going to be NHLers. Whether it's this year or next year is up for fate, injuries, and the coaching staff to decide. And a bunch of the college free agents that were signed, who have since signed with the Henderson Silver Knights, were difference makers, and they looked exceptionally good, especially in the scrimmages and the drills. So while we were shoring up the NHL roster, the depth and the rookies at rookie camp were shoring up the future talent pool of the team. So obviously exciting times, but now there's about to be a little bit of a break because there's not a lot that happens between July 21st and the start of preseason. But obviously I'm going to have my theories as to what is going to happen. And as things happen, goodness only knows I'll be the first one to tell you. So until something happens, or until I decide to venture into a storyline, or heck, I might even do a little series about what I do when hockey's not on. Until next time, be sure to like the video, subscribe if you want to see more of my aimless ramblings about the Vegas Golden Knights, a team which I love to hate and hate to love. I'll be sure to, yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. I'm going to try and get better at this. But life got crazy, especially around free agency. But as we get closer to the fall and closer to the regular season, I'm going to get better at this. I'm going to get more consistent. I'm not going to miss any videos. I'm not going to miss any games. I'm not going to miss any major stories. Heck, I might even up it a little bit. I might do a little bit more than bare minimum. So if you're already getting tired of me, well, too bad. There's going to be a lot more of me coming up very, 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 very soon. So until next time, like I said, like, subscribe, do all the things, click all the buttons. Appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one.